My dad married a woman with 3 kids. They demanded I raise them for free, but when I told them I'd rather live alone in my own house than be their unpaid nanny, the entire family was shocked. And now I'm a ghost, living under their roof. I'm 16 years old. I work part-time at a convenience store, and I need to get this story off my chest because I'm basically living like a stranger in my own house, and people need to understand why I'm not willing to give in. I guess I should start at the beginning, when I was like 12 years old and my mom got sick with cancer. I don't remember much about those first months. Honestly, everything happened so fast and was so confusing, but what I do remember perfectly is when I realized that no one was going to make my lunch for school. My dad was completely overwhelmed with the whole hospital thing, the medical appointments, the treatments, and I understood he had more important things to worry about than making me a sandwich. So one morning I just grabbed bread, ham, cheese, whatever was in the fridge, and made my own lunch. And from that day on, I never stopped doing it. It became my routine, like something I controlled when everything else was falling apart around me. My mom died when I was 13, and honestly, that time is kind of blurry in my memory, but what never changed was that I kept making my own lunches, my own meals basically, because my dad was so lost in his own grief that he could barely function. Like 2 years passed, I think, or maybe a year and a half. I'm not really sure of the exact time, but my dad eventually started dating Jessica. She has 3 kids from a previous marriage, twin boys who are like 6 now and an 1-year-old daughter. At first, everything seemed normal. I mean, weird because obviously she wasn't my mom. But Jessica was nice and her kids were okay. A little loud, but, well, they're kids. My dad seemed happier, which I guess was good for him, and I just wanted things to feel less empty in the house. They got married like a year and a half ago approximately, and Jessica and her kids moved in with us. The house suddenly felt full, too full, with toys everywhere, constant noise, and Jessica trying to establish new rules and routines. I kept doing my thing, going to school, working my shifts at the store, making my food, basically staying in my lane and not bothering anyone. I thought that way we'd be fine, like everyone doing their own thing but under the same roof. But then, like 6 months ago, Jessica started with her comments. One day, I was making my lunch for the next day. I think it was a Sunday night, and she came into the kitchen with this kind of weird smile and said, "Hey, since you're making your lunch, could you also make the kids' lunches? That way you'd save me time in the morning." And I was like, "What? No. Honestly, no. This is something I do for myself." She laughed like it was a joke, but I could see in her eyes that it wasn't. She said, "Oh, don't be like that. It's just a small favor. We're family now." And I answered, "Well, they're your kids, not mine." And I went to my room with my lunch already made. The thing is, Jessica didn't leave it there. She started complaining to my dad, which I know because he came to my room like a week later and said, "Look, it would be good if you helped out a little more around the house. Jessica has a lot to do with the kids." And I told him, "Dad, I clean my own room, wash my own clothes, make my own food. I literally don't ask you for anything. What more do you want me to do?" He went quiet, that uncomfortable look he gets when he doesn't want to deal with conflict, and simply said, "Just think about it, okay?" And he left. Typical of my dad, avoiding any real confrontation. Jessica then changed tactics and started with the guilt trips, those well-calculated emotional manipulations. She'd have her kids come ask me directly if I could make their lunch, with those little poor me faces, and when I said no, she'd sigh really loud and say things like, "Well, I guess Mom will have to do everything alone as always." Or she'd make passive-aggressive comments like, "It must be nice to have so much free time to only worry about yourself," and I'm thinking, free time? Really? I go to school, work almost 20 hours a week, do my homework, take care of all my stuff, and she thinks I have time to spare? But wait, because it gets worse. Jessica started leaving the kitchen a complete mess every time I needed to use it. She'd leave dirty dishes in the sink, crumbs everywhere, the stove covered in grease. And when I'd get home from work, like at 7 at night wanting to make my dinner, I had to clean everything first. And if I complained, she'd say, "Oh, sorry. It's just that with 3 kids, I don't have time for everything. If only I had help." basically trying to force me to feel guilty for not jumping to help her. She also started asking me to watch the kids, like free babysitting. She'd tell me, "Hey, I have to go out for an hour. Can you stay with them?" Or, "I need you to help my daughter with her math homework because I don't understand that subject." And every time I said no, that I had my own homework or work or simply didn't want to, and she'd look at me like I was the most selfish person in the world. The twins started seeing me as the bad guy in the house because I always said no to them. And the one-year-old daughter completely stopped talking to me, which honestly didn't bother me that much, but it did make the atmosphere more tense. It got to a point, I think it was like 3 months ago, where we had a really ugly direct confrontation. Jessica came into my room without knocking. I was doing homework, and she gave me this whole speech about how I was part of the family now and families help each other, and that she was trying really hard to integrate everyone. But I wasn't doing my part, and I exploded. I told her, "Jessica, your kids are not my responsibility. I didn't ask for step-siblings. I didn't ask you to marry my dad, and I'm definitely not going to play at being their second parent or their babysitter. That's your job." She turned red with rage and left, slamming the door. That night my dad came to talk to me, again with that avoiding problems attitude, and told me that Jessica was very upset and that I needed to be more understanding. I explained everything to him. I said, "Dad, I already do enough for myself. I go to school, I work, I pay for my own clothes and personal stuff with the money I earn. I make my own food. I clean my own spaces. What more do you want?" And he just said, "It's just that we all live together now. It would be good if you contributed more to the family dynamic." And I asked him, "Contribute how exactly? Raising your wife's kids?" Because that's not my job. He didn't know what to say and left. But Jessica wasn't going to leave it at that. The conflict started extending to dinners too. She'd cook for the whole family, usually around 6 inches the afternoon, but I'd get home from work at 7 or 7:30, so when I'd arrive, they'd already eaten, and they wouldn't save me anything. At first I thought it was an accident, but then I realized it was intentional. One day I asked her, "Hey, wasn't there any dinner left?" And she told me, "Well, if you want me to save food for you, maybe you could help prepare it, don't you think?" So I started making my own dinner too, without asking them for anything. Like 2 months ago, Jessica and my dad sat me down in the living room, intervention style like a TV show, and told me we needed to talk about my attitude. Jessica said I was being divisive in the family, that my refusal to help was causing problems, and that the kids were noticing that I didn't want to be part of the family. My dad was just there nodding like a robot. I told them very clearly, I don't have a problem being part of the family, but I'm not going to assume parental or caretaker responsibilities for kids who aren't mine, period. Jessica answered that that selfish attitude wasn't acceptable, and that if I was going to live in that house, I had to contribute like everyone else. I asked her, "And what exactly are your kids contributing?" Because, as far as I can see, they just make mess and noise. She didn't like that at all. So I started buying my own groceries. Like, I'd go to the supermarket after work or on weekends and buy my own stuff. Bread, milk, cereal, whatever I needed to make my meals. I'd put them in my room because I knew that if I left them in the common kitchen, Jessica or her kids would eat them. I had like a mini pantry in my closet, which I know sounds weird, but it was the only way to make sure I had food for myself. I bought a small lunchbox with ice to keep refrigerated things in my room. Basically, I was living like I had a mini apartment inside the house. Jessica noticed this and didn't like it at all. She confronted me one morning when I was taking my cereal out of my room to have breakfast. She said, "What are you doing? Why do you have food in your room?" And I answered, "Because it's my food that I bought with my money." She told me that was ridiculous and divisive, that we were acting like roommates instead of family. I responded, "Well, you made it very clear to me that if I don't help with your kids, I'm not welcome to family food. So this is what it is." She got furious and threatened me. She said, "Look, if you're not going to be part of this family and help with the kids, then you can't use anything I provide. That includes the food I buy." And I told her, "Perfect. I buy my own anyway." And that's how I've been living since then, basically. I buy my own food, cook my own meals, wash only my own dishes, It's like I'm invisible in the house except when Jessica wants to remind me that I'm selfish. The kids don't even talk to me anymore, which honestly is fine. It's not like we had much in common anyway. My dad is completely on Jessica's side, which doesn't surprise me because he's always been about avoiding conflict at all costs and just doing whatever his partner wants. Like 3 weeks ago, we had another really ugly fight. I was in the kitchen making pasta for my dinner. It was like 8 at night, and the twins came in crying saying they were hungry. Jessica had said they'd eat dinner later because she was busy with something. I don't know what, but the kids were standing there watching me cook with that hungry face. Jessica came in and saw me making only one portion for myself, and she exploded. She yelled at me. Seriously? You see these kids hungry and you only cook for yourself? What kind of person are you? And I answered, Jessica, I've told you 1,000 times, they're not my responsibility. If they're hungry, it's because you didn't feed them on time. That has nothing to do with me. She told me I was worthless, that I was worth nothing, that I was a bad example for her kids, and that basically I wasn't part of the family anymore. The next morning, a Saturday, Jessica came into my room really early, like 7 inches the morning, woke me up and said, Tonight you're going to cook dinner for the whole family, or you're completely cut off from everything. No Wi-Fi, no hot water for your showers, nothing. And if you don't like it, you can leave. I told her that was ridiculous, that I pay my part of the Wi-Fi with my work, and that she can't cut me off from basic services. She told me, This is my house. I make the rules. Your dad agrees. And sure enough, my dad was standing there in the doorway, not saying anything, just nodding. I didn't cook that night. I made my own dinner, pasta again because it's cheap and easy, and ate it in my room. I could hear Jessica complaining out loud in the kitchen about me, saying things like, Unbelievable. We live with someone so selfish that he'd rather watch small children starve than lift a finger. Which is a massive exaggeration because she can perfectly well cook for her own kids. She just wants to force me to do it. That night, the Wi-Fi supposedly went down. I mean, Jessica changed the password, so I use my cell data now. She also started knocking on my room door really early in the mornings to bother me, or playing loud music when she knows I have to study. My dad has tried to talk to me a couple more times, always with the same message, that I need to be more flexible, that Jessica is doing her best, that the kids see me as an older brother and I'm rejecting them. I've explained my position to him like 1,000 times, but he doesn't listen, or doesn't want to listen. He tells me things like, Your mom would want us to be a united family, which I find super manipulative because he has no idea what my mom would want. She didn't even meet Jessica or her kids. But every time I try to talk seriously with him, he ends the conversation, saying he's stressed and we'll talk later, which never happens. Last Friday, we had what was probably the final confrontation. Jessica and my dad called me to the living room after the kids went to sleep, like at 9 at night, and told me this couldn't continue like this. Jessica said I needed to make a decision. Either I started contributing to the family for real, helping with the kids, cooking for everyone, being a responsible older brother, or I had to leave the house when I turned 18, which is in like a year and a half. My dad added that they weren't going to kick me out before then because it would be illegal, but that once I turned 18, if my attitude didn't change, I wasn't welcome to stay. And that's when I told them something I'd been thinking for months, but hadn't said out loud. I told them, You know what? I don't want to be part of this family. If being part of the family means raising someone else's kids and losing my independence. I've been taking care of myself since I was 12, making my own food, washing my own clothes, handling my own things, and you want me to now add 3 more kids to that list simply because you got married. That's not fair and I'm not going to do it. If that means I'm not welcome here, then I guess I'll start saving more aggressively to move out when I turn 18. Jessica told me I was being dramatic, that she was only asking for basic help, simple, things like making lunches or watching the kids for an hour here and there. I answered that those simple things become constant responsibilities, that they start with making a lunch and end with me basically being the third parent to her kids. That I saw how it started with small requests and each time she asked for more and more. I told her, if you wanted someone to help you raise your kids, you should have looked for a partner who already had kids or who wanted that role, not impose it on a teenager who already has enough on his plate. My dad told me I was being disrespectful, that Jessica deserved my support as my stepmother. And I told him, Dad, she's not my mother. She's never going to be my mother. And I didn't sign any contract to be the babysitter for her kids when you decided to marry her. You made that decision, not me. And if the consequences of my refusal to play step-parent are living like a stranger in this house until I can leave, then so be it. Jessica looked at me with that face of total contempt and told me, Fine, then you're on your own. Don't count on anything from us. Zero support, zero help, nothing. And I told her, Perfect. I've been on my own since Mom died anyway. At least now it's official. I got up and went to my room. I heard Jessica crying in the living room, my dad trying to console her, probably telling her that I was a difficult teenager and that eventually I'd change my mind. But I'm not going to change my mind. I'm super clear on that. So yeah, here I am, at 16 years old, living in the same house as my dad and his new family, but completely separated from them. I buy my own food, cook my own meals, wash my own clothes, clean only my spaces. Basically, I function like a roommate who doesn't talk to the other roommates. Jessica gives me poisonous looks every time she sees me. The kids are either afraid of me or hate me. I'm not really sure which, and my dad completely avoids me, except when Jessica sends him to talk to me. Last week, one of the twins, I think his name is Tyler or something, asked me why I didn't eat with them. I told him it was complicated, and to ask his mom. Apparently, Jessica told him that I didn't want to be part of the family because I was selfish, so now the kid sees me as the villain. Which I guess is fine. I'm not going to try to explain to a 6-year-old kid the complete dynamic of this situation. Am I scared they'll kick me out when I turn 18? A little. Yeah. But I also have a job, I'm saving money, and I have a year and a half to prepare. I've been researching options, like renting a room in a shared house or maybe getting a second part-time job to save faster. Some of my friends from work are in similar situations, living alone or with roommates, and they've told me it's possible if you're disciplined with money. What bothers me most isn't Jessica, honestly. She is who she is. A mother who wants help with her kids and found it convenient that there was a teenager in the house who could do that work for free. I get it, even though I don't accept it. What really hurts is my dad. The fact that he hasn't defended my position even once. That he always automatically takes Jessica's side. That he's basically emotionally abandoned me since she arrived. It's like he replaced his previous life, the life with my mom and me, with this new family, and I'm just an uncomfortable reminder of what it was before. Sometimes I think about how things would be if my mom were still alive. She would never have forced me to take care of kids who aren't mine, that's for sure. She probably would have supported me in maintaining my boundaries while also teaching me to be kind, but she's not here, and my dad clearly doesn't have the backbone to do the same. So, here I am, counting the days until I turn 18 and can legally leave without anyone being able to stop me. Do I regret my position? No. Honestly, no. I know there are people who'll say I'm selfish, that I should help because we live in the same house, that the kids aren't to blame for anything. And they're right that the kids aren't to blame, but it's also not my fault that their mom decided to marry someone and expect that someone's teenage son would become a free babysitter. I didn't ask for siblings, I didn't ask for this blended family, and I definitely didn't ask for the responsibilities that come with it. So, yeah, I guess I'm officially on my own in this house until I can get out. I do my routine every day, go to school, work my shifts, do my homework in my room, cook my food, and stay out of everyone's way. Jessica continues with her passive-aggressive comments. My dad keeps avoiding me, the kids keep seeing me as the bad brother who doesn't love them. And I keep saving every dollar I can for the day, when I can finally close the door on this place and never look back. Is it sad? Maybe. Is it lonely? Definitely. But it's better than giving up and accepting responsibilities that should never have been mine in the first place. So I guess this is my life now, at least for another year and a half. After that, who knows? But at least it'll be my decision, my life, my terms. And that, honestly, is the only thing keeping me sane right now.